Let's pray. Almighty God, when your wisdom and goodness have appointed the offices of leaders and county assemblies for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor as your servants whom you've been pleased to call to the performance of your important trust in this republic. Let your blessings center upon us here assembled, and grant that we treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation, in so just and faithful a manner to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our county, and of those whose interests you committed to our church. Amen. Order, honorable members. Clerk, take us through the order of the day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Honorable members. We are in supplementary order paper number 109 of today, Wednesday, 21st June 2023. Order number 1, admission of oath.
Next order.
Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Honorable members, I want to communicate that in the morning during plenary session, we had some discussions that were going outside the precincts of the assembly. And coincidentally, in line with what was being presented by the Honorable Benson Adega in terms of powers and privileges, there is an incident that occurred. That is, the business persons of Nyamlori were here in their rights as per Article 37, which provides for picketing, assembling, and we did address them. And I think we shall be dealing with that matter at the appropriate time, because they did present to us a petition. By the meantime, allow me to recognize the presence in the speaker's gallery of the following representatives of Nyamlori traders: David Ouma Otieno, Magdalene Ojuang, Martin Otieno, Charles Odongo, Bernard Budi, Catherine Achieng, Michael Otieno. On behalf of the Assembly, I want to welcome you to the plenary. Feel free. In case of anything, you can get assistance from the Sergeant at Arms. Clerk, take us to next order.
Order number 3, messages.
Next order.
Order number 4, petition. Honorable Chair, we have petition was submitted to this House, as you explained in your communication. So we have petition submitted pursuant to provision standing order number 12152B by Nyamlori Market Traders to the County Assembly on the matter of destruction, demolition of business properties by persons hired by the acting city manager, Mr. Abalawanga. Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, I want to confirm the receipt of the said petition, and allow me to read it quote unquote. Petition to the County Assembly of Kisumu. We, the undersigned, residents of Kisumu County and businessmen at Nyamlori Market, draw the attention of County Assembly to the following: that on 20th June 2023, at 0013 hours, the acting city manager, Mr. Balawanga, hired unidentified persons who forcefully gained access to Nyamlori Market and caused destruction of business properties, including social amenities, and has further marked other business stores for demolition. That the Nyamlori business community is fully aware that the city management had an issue with Nyamlori Market and had proposed that the business community relocate to Uhuru Market through a formal notice as to the date of the public participation pursuant to Article 196 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, for the relocation had not been formally issued to Nyamlori business community. That the destructive intent of Mr. Abalawanga was first witnessed on 15th March 2023, where through his directive, goons marched into the market and destroyed the market toilets at 23:00 hours, despite a stay order issued on the 2nd of February 2023, which barred his actions until 16th of March 2023. That Nyamlori business community went to court on 2nd May 2023 and was issued with a stay order at the Environmental and Law Court at Kisumu, upon which the matter was scheduled for hearing on 27th July 2023. Despite this stay order, Mr. Balawanga, in utter abuse of the law, hired goons and unregistered caterpillar on 20th June 2023 at 0013 hours to destroy business properties. Whereof, your humble petitioners pray that the County Assembly, 1, resolve that the destruction of business properties at night is illegal and any damages to the personal properties caused by such actions be compensated by the culpable person. Resolve that Destroyed social amenities such as public toilets be reconstructed within the next 7 days. Resolved to provide the procedures for the implementation of market plans within Kisumu City. 4, resolved to find that Mr. Bala Wanga grossly abused the Constitution and is incompetent to hold a public office and should be accordingly removed from the office. And 5, resolved to revoke the location of Uhuru Market since the market has been held hostage by cartels including Mr. Abala Wanga, who co-owns a number of stalls within the market with an intent of collecting rents from the public. And your petitioners will ever pray. The names of the petitioners are attached. Honorable members have confirmed. And honorable members, I want to bring to your attention that if you listen to the quote-unquote presentation of the petition, there is a court order that was issued to the Nyamdori traders up to 27th of July 2023. You are aware that our standing orders provides that matters within the court becomes sub judice. But I looked at the petition through consultation, and the petition that the members have brought, the members of Nyamdori have brought, is as per what transpired today. And that is the reason why I allowed the petition to come to the Assembly, because it is not interfering with what they had earlier presented to the court. So, as per our standing order and as per provisions of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, which gives the public or any person the authority to demonstrate, to picket, or to give petition, I have decided that this petition be presented to the House. Honorable members, before I make a ruling on the way forward on this petition, I will give opportunity to maybe a number of members who want to contribute. I'm doing so because of the fact that you are aware the provision of the standing order, and I've mentioned the issue of the court order, which have been annexed to this petition. You are also aware that your number one role is to represent the public in the Assembly. Not all of them can come to the Assembly. So you represent the public in the Assembly. Number 3, a name has been mentioned. And if a name has been mentioned, then it must be the responsibility of the members of the Assembly to take decision. So in that regard, I will allow maybe in 15 minutes. So I want to guide that if you get an opportunity, please give a small contribution so that you allow the other members to contribute. But in 15 minutes time, I will give direction on the way forward of this petition before we proceed to the next order. The Honorable Deputy Leader of Majority.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, from what you have read, I would like to ask for an amendment of the hour that the demolition took place. From what is coming out, this thing took place at night. But you are reading 1,300 hours. 1,300 hours, Mr. Speaker, is about 1 o'clock daytime.
Honorable Leader of Majority, I said 0013. 0013 hours is 30 minutes past midnight.
Mr. Speaker, if I get it right, when you're doing 24 hours, it's supposed to be 001. That is 1 o'clock in the morning. 1,300 hours is 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Honorable Leader of Majorities, please stand guided. 0013 hours is 13 minutes past midnight.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand guided.
Thank you. I can have noticed Honorable Tom Nyauke and Honorable Joachim, but Honorable Nyauke, because of seniority, let me allow the Honorable Joachim Okech to go first.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for recognizing my seniority. You know, my brother is normally dressed on some nice suits, so I thought that will be recognized. But I have realized seniority is way far above these nice suits. Mr. Speaker, First of all, Mr. Speaker, I have carefully heard the petition as you were going through it, and being an MCA from Kisumu Central Sub-County, we are aware of the facts and the disturbance that have been taking place at that Nyawuri business place, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, first of all, you know that there are fundamental rights of our constitutions, that one, the right to associate and the right to have a place to do business, Mr. Speaker. The city manager has been accused of fundamentally disregarding all these rights and interfering, Mr. Speaker. I am saying accused because, of course, he has the right to be heard, going by the petition. And Mr. Speaker, first I have to condemn, because if at all whoever was going to that business place was doing something that is right, then he ought to have gone there during the day, so that he faces the business people during the day, so that they don't have to hide anything. And therefore, I really have to stand with the business people and condemn the inhumane act of destroying properties at night. Mr. Speaker, we have been in this assembly severally trying to condemn these demolitions that are being done at night, Mr. Speaker. And you are aware, starting from the regime of Madam Doris Ombara, this assembly was always against demolitions that, one, are done at night, and two, demolitions that are done without giving prior notice, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, as an assembly, I think this time around we have to deal with the issue of these demolitions. We have not just to invite, but Mr. Speaker, I think through the powers of this House, let us summon the city manager so that once and all, we have to deal with the issue of Nyalori. Mr. Speaker, according to me, one person then has to go. Either Nyamlori people, they have to go, or either the city manager has to go. And that is the prerogative of this House, so that we decide as a House, so that we don't have to have back and forth movements regarding this kind of business, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I call upon this House to deal with this matter once and for all, Mr. Speaker. And I also have to bring the apology of the area member of the Assembly, Aduinyang, who was supposed to be here. And I'm aware that he's currently held up in a meeting also to ensure that we get a solution to this kind of issues, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, I want to call upon this House, let us deal with this issue once and all. Mr. Speaker, let us summon the city manager so that we get the facts right, so that we deal with it once and for all. So that if, I mean, the problem is Nyawuri, then they have to go. Nyamlori. If the problem is the city manager, then he has to go, so that we have peace in this town. The errors of recreative demolitions must come to stop. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I know these members are members of high esteem. These are members of very high regards. And therefore, if we bring our heads together, let us solve this issue once and for all. Thank you very much.
Honorable Tom Nyauke.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we all saw what happened this morning when the Nyawuri people arrived, the Nyamlori people arrived at this place. And Mr. Speaker, I want to first of all thank you for the intervention, the quick intervention that you did by adjourning, suspending the motion we had this morning to attend to their grievances. At the same time, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the Nyamlori people also, fraternity, for displaying the act of responsiveness. Mr. Speaker, they showed maturity by also making sure that they listened to the intervention that was going on by members chaired by you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a country of, and this is a county of laws and regulations, Mr. Speaker. And I think the direction that you took this morning, plus our friends, is going to yield fruits if we follow the procedure the way we took it, Mr. Speaker. It is my prayer that we move along to help them as we condemn the acts of lawlessness, Mr. Speaker. because destruction of property is not really our will and intention to do to our members. Mr. Speaker, with due regard to their state, because they are also, that is where some of them are getting their bread, Mr. Speaker, it is important and prudent that the law must take its course, because they also demonstrated that they have a court order, Mr. Speaker. We were wondering why the court order was actually disregarded. But going forward, Mr. Speaker, I think the intervention you took is going to create an amicable solution and long-lasting solution. We don't want such a thing again to happen, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Ratib Boyton, MCA Manyata A.
Nyalenda A.
Nyalenda A, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want first of all to appreciate the measures that you took, because at that given time, Mr. Speaker, I was afraid, given that a number of people who were demonstrating, threatening to bring down the gate of the assembly, you never knew if at all some goons could have taken the advantage of the situation and cause harm to us. The measures that you took, Mr. Speaker, I think should be applauded. Number two, Mr. Speaker, I also want to thank the business community of Nyamlori. What they did is within the law. And the way they conducted themselves also was with a lot of decorum. And for that matter, I want also to appreciate them. Mr. Speaker, it has been said very clearly by Honorable Joachim Mukechi. Moving forward, if at all there is going to be any distraction that have been ordered by the executive, by the county government, let this distraction be done during the day. We don't see any reason why distraction should be done at night. Actually, if it is within the law, why should it be done at night? This is absurd. And there must be some reason behind it that we may not know. So I applaud this assembly that put mechanism in order that in case of any eviction or any destruction that demolition that should be taken, it should be done during the day. Mr. Speaker, the toilets that have been brought down were once brought down. And I want to thank Honorable Dr. Joshua Oron, who helped this group to rebuild the toilet. Unfortunately, this toilet has been brought down again. If we don't move with speed, I'm seeing a health hazard in that area. Because these people, this business community, need such kind of amenity. For that matter, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that the toilet should be built or rebuilt within the shortest period possible. Mr. Speaker, pertaining to the city manager, a lot has been said. You remember there's also a report that was passed in this assembly as per touching on misuse of public funds by the city manager. That report should be implemented. Gross abuse of power, some sort of immunity should be a thing of the past. This is a democratic country. This is a democratic county. This is a democratic people where if somebody abuses power, measures should be taken. Mr. Speaker, I also want to talk about the distribution of the stalls that took place at the Uhuru Market. Fine, as assembly we were not involved. But Truth be told, the distribution that took place in that area benefit more of the so-called cartels than the business people themselves. So for that matter, I want to applaud this assembly that we put mechanism that the distribution be revoked and the legitimate business owners of this county be given the first priority. That is also my plea, Mr. Speaker. Because the matter is within the court, I think the assembly will get ways of actually addressing this matter because of its urgency. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, let me consider the agenda and give Emily. Honorable Benny Pete, I've noticed you. You will bear with me. You will be next.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for considering gender. Mr. Speaker, according to that petition that I've just heard, I can sense a lot of high-handedness and disrespect of the court of law. The traders at Nyamlori had a court order stating a court order dated up to 27th of June, July 2023. And according to our records, right now, today we are on 20th of June, which actually hasn't expired. I think from this, we see a lot of high-handedness from the city manager. And if it's not handled at this point, then I think it will eventually come back to bite us. Because if you look at the condition of, at the issue of traders within the city, it's not the first time you're hearing about this. It's happened before. And we keep on putting we keep on blocking our ears to all this, and it comes back and happens again at a higher degree. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the team for taking this action of coming up with this petition and bringing it to the assembly. And I'd like to request you, Mr. Speaker, as you're signing to a committee, let the committee go deeper and find out about the allocation of the market stalls where the traders are supposed to move into. Because we've heard about so many wars at that place. And Mr. Speaker, I think there's a lot more to it, because I remember some time back, our governor launched something on biometric registration for traders within the city. I don't know what it was for. I don't know whether the registration was just done for PR, because I assume that this biometric registration was supposed to help our traders be identified and allocated the rightful places for them to trade within the city. So if this happens up to this moment, after doing all this and incurring all the expenses, and we still have other people coming in to occupy spaces which are supposed to be occupied by the people who are registered during this process, then I don't think it's fair at all. So I thank the team for coming to the assembly, in as much as it's still in the court of law. I know we can't really ask much, but I hope that eventually we'll come up with a solution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I had promised Honorable Benny Pete. Honorable Benny Pete, iko Kabonyo Kanyagwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me time to also air my views on this matter. Honorable Speaker, we are being told that there's a court order that had been issued on this matter of Nyamlori business stalls, and an officer goes ahead to do destruction. That is contempt of court. I wish the traders had realized that, gone to their advocate, so that the officer is charged with the contempt of court. Once the court has given instruction, the instruction must be respected. However one may feel offended, however one may feel powerful he is, he must respect the decision of the court. I also applaud you You did not take law into your own hands. You came to the assembly if the assembly may help. And you also get the assembly very well if they may help you or they may not help. And let us base our arguments on facts. Let us not become emotional. Let us not argue as if we want to favor, we want to look smart. Mr. Speaker, the destruction of property and displacement of traders in Kisumu County has now taken a long time, and our traders have suffered, giving the picture that the PR between the traders and the county government may not be organizing on well. Because generally, when the government wants to displace its people from a site, an alternative must be found. And the government must sit down with the leaders, with its people, and they agree. When it turns out that there is no amicable agreement, then the question must be asked, what is happening? That is the truth of the matter. You must ask, what is happening? If you want to remove them from here to another point and they are saying no, why don't they like that? And is the government ready to listen to them? These are very pertinent matters, Mr. Speaker, that we must address. Mr. Speaker, the city manager, who is actually the acting city manager, has done this over a long time and is being blamed from time to time. One may ask, the city manager acts under whose instruction? Because there's the owner of the business. There's the owner of the home. That is the true position. Is Abala Wanga just power unto himself? Is the executive aware what the city manager is doing? We must address all this. My fellow countrymen, this matter of yours, I tend to think is political. And you are going the legal way. If the assembly is able to handle it politically, then you may see some light. Because the matter has been going on for a long time and we are not seeing the answer. And our people are losing their wealth and no one is compensating them. Why can't we look at organized community that can sit down and chat their way? Mr. Speaker, we know Kisumu is being praised as a Europe. Kisumu is the cleanest city in Kenya now. But if that is a position of Kisumu, and the traders are to be removed from the streets, the alternative being given to them that they appreciate is where? This Ouru Park business, Ouru Park business stores, if it was constructed for the traders in Kisumu, why have they rejected it up to now? Let the assembly come up with an ad hoc committee to investigate and say the truth. Why our traders don't want to go to Ouru Park? Why they prefer Nyamlori? Then we shall move forward. Instead of property being destroyed, people losing their wealth from time to time. Honorable Speaker, the matter is in court. But politics can take its own direction. The matter is in court, and court has a superior power to the assembly. That is the truth. But the assembly can take their political direction to make a decision. So let us see the Kisumu County Assembly, the direction they are going to take to help our people. Thank you.
Now, let me say that you will go in this order. for those who want to speak, I'll say you'll go in this order. We'll give Honorable Seto Kumu, then we give Honorable Jagongo, and after Honorable Jagongo, I will give Honorable Alice Wajewa because of gender. Then from there, I'll go to Honorable Were. I said I only want to give very few minutes. And honorable members, as you, Honorable Chele, I've noticed you. I've noticed all the members. I've noticed you, Honorable Chele. Honorable Seth, before you proceed, let me bring you to attention on standing order number 214, that the total time that we should have for a petition is 30 minutes. Shall not be more than 30 minutes. I had said 15. I want to be guided by the standing order, but I want now to stick myself to that one. I know that members would want to say a lot, but once that 30 minutes has elapsed, those who have talked will have talked. I will give direction. Then when we meet for the next time, now we'll have more to do, and you'll also have an opportunity to give your views on the direction that I'll give. So, Honorable Seth, you will go ahead, give your contribution, but please be brief as much as possible that you allow other members. You have seen that many members have stood. They want to contribute the same. So, please, if you can try to do your contribution in 2 minutes, I'll appreciate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll make it very short. Mr. Speaker, first I want to appreciate the traders of Nyamlori for going through the right procedures in making their complaints known to this assembly. I think it's only through petitions that we can know that somebody is affected. If we just make noise outside there and nothing reaches us here officially, it's like somebody whose shamba is being stolen from, but is not complaining. So it's hard for us to act. And on that note, I want to appeal to honorable members that these traders have filed a petition to us. And the way we handle this petition will determine how future complaints from the community reach this house and how orderly will remain in Kisumu County. We are striving to have a structured city, but they also have grievances that need to be met as we are structuring the city. So on that note, honorable members, let's do our best so that the grievances of the people of Nyamlori are heard. Point number 2, Mr. Speaker, like you've said, this is a matter sub judice, and matter sub judice, there are aspects of that petition that we cannot handle as an assembly because you had already taken it to court. I want to advise that you go further and talk to your lawyers if you had a lawyer. If you didn't, then go to court. That matter that you took before court, there's contempt against it, so that the court also takes action on matters that we cannot handle. Just like my brother Honorable Oiko mentioned, that we are here to serve you, and we can serve you both politically and technically. So we can do it, whether it means going and petitioning the governor to act on Abalawanga through letters and messages we send from the assembly. We are ready to do that. But we also request that you help us by doing things that we cannot do because you had started this matter in court. So please go ahead and pursue that the court process that we cannot pursue here. Otherwise, thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
I had given direction, now we are moving. Honorable Jagongo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity also to air my views. Mr. Speaker, I want to join members of this assembly in condemning the incident that took place yesterday night with the strongest terms possible. Mr. Speaker, I can remember this was the first time that we are having such an incident, and there has been a norm for the city manager to act and to disobey laws that are made in this country. I would request, Mr. Speaker, we can joke with it, but maybe it can be a mental disorder. So I can just request, Mr. Speaker, if we can summon the city manager and the team that is here so that we hear from both of them. I know there is a matter in court, but the one that took place yesterday is a different case. So we can handle the case for yesterday separately from the matter that is in court. So I would just want to request you can form an ad hoc committee so that we investigate this thing matter. We hear from both the parties. Thank you.
Honorable Were.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm also joining my colleagues in condemning the action of the Mr. City Manager. Mr. Speaker, it is in order for everybody who are in authority or who have been given task or responsibility to obey court order. Mr. Speaker, our traders at the court order that was barring any interference until such a time that was mentioned that that was on 27th of July. And I believe, Mr. Speaker, the city manager would have waited until such a time that the date had elapsed. Mr. Speaker, I find it not in order, Mr. Speaker, considering the prayers that were mentioned in that petition, considering that for a government to demolish structures or relocate traders, there must be alternative. And if that alternative is there, Mr. Speaker, it should be given in a transparent way. And one of the prayers in that petition was stating that there was a problem in relocating traders in Uhuru Business Park. And Mr. Speaker, I think I want to join my other members in demanding that the relocation be revoked and be done afresh, and a committee, a ad hoc committee be formed, just like was suggested by other members, to look into that matter so that our traders can be given what belongs to them. They can be transferred and relocated transparently, meaning that if they have to move from Nyamlori to Uhuru Business Park, things must be transparent enough so that there's no interference, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, going by what is happening in this county, we know we are faced with hard economic times. Traders are not getting it easy, even to get money for their businesses. And Mr. Speaker, the little amount that you have that you want to invest, no interference is supposed to be done to it, Mr. Speaker. And I want to join our traders in solidarity in ensuring that the best solution is found within this county assembly. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, thank you.
I was looking for Honorable Alice and then you disappeared. So let me give let me give Alice. I'll give each one of you. Honorable Alice, Wajewa.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. First of all, I want to start by applauding you for the quick action you took during the morning plenary when we had this issue. I also want to appreciate the Nyamlori fraternity for the action they took. Unlike the way other people behave, you behaved maturely and you decided to come to the assembly and so that your grievances can be addressed. I know it is difficult, especially we don't have jobs. We depend on our businesses. When somebody disrupts your business, you have children to take to school and even to feed. It becomes so difficult. So I just want to appreciate you that you did well and you understood what was supposed to be done. And here we are now discussing the issue. What I would ask is this House, let us take action and let this issue be dealt with once and for all. Because we are all mature people, we are all Kisumu County residents. We want peace amongst ourselves, and I don't think there is any difficulty. We can sit down and talk and agree. We disagree to agree. So I think we should take action as soon as possible, and maybe once you have allocated the relevant committee, we should also call the city manager so that he can come and tell us exactly what is happening, and if possible, let this issue be addressed as soon as possible, because this is not the first time. I think this is now the second time. There's a time also when their toilet was destroyed, and the gate also, and that time it was worse. But today I appreciate that everything was, it didn't get out of hand. So I just want to appreciate each and every one of us. Please, let us take this thing seriously, and let us get solutions once and for all. Thank you so much.
Honorable Kwach.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me an opportunity also to add my voice on the issue before the House. Honorable Speaker, I also have to join my colleagues in condemning the act that took place last night at Kanyamlori Market, and I condemn it in the strongest term possible. Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, remember, it is only goons and criminals who do their things at night. Honorable Speaker. And this one amounts to question of chapter 6, as it is enshrined in the Constitution of Kenya, leadership and integrity. Honorable Speaker, if the acting city manager acts in disregard of the court order, that one amounts to court contempt. And if he cannot respect the court, I find it very difficult to work with such a person, Honorable Speaker. I think that is a person who belongs to jail, he belongs to prison. Should have been in Kodiaga or Kibos. And even soon, I wish the government does a prison in my ward, so that it takes care of public officers who behave that way, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, remember we are at tough economic times, Honorable Speaker. Even those who are earning that do not manage to pay their bills. And these our traders at Kanyamlori, they don't earn even a single cent. They only rely on their businesses, Honorable Speaker. They are our mothers, they are our sisters, they are our sons, Honorable Speaker. And remember, we are crying of on-source revenue, which is at its knee, Honorable Speaker. Where will we get the revenue if the businesses that can give us revenue as a county government of Kisumu are being distracted, Honorable Speaker? We need to do something. As a structural engineer, Honorable Speaker, I know how much it costs to do a building, Honorable Speaker, and especially a toilet in town, Honorable Speaker, because you don't just dig a pit, then you construct and leave it there. You have to make sure that you connect it even to the sewer line, Honorable Speaker. While this one has been done by an elected member of parliament, and then a public officer comes in and destroys it, Honorable Speaker. We cannot agree, we cannot sit back and see things happen the way they do, Honorable Speaker. We have to deal with this matter once and for all, Honorable Speaker. Even if it means doing something. Just as Honorable Swaga said, if it is people of Kanyamlori who are wrong, then let us deal with them. If it is the acting city manager who is wrong, let him vacate the office, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, and you also remember, one cannot just stay in office all his life as an acting when will be a substantive city manager, Honorable Speaker. It means there is something, Honorable Speaker. Maybe the appointing authority knows the reason why he cannot make him a substantive city manager, Honorable Speaker. And when things happen the way they do, then people start talking of executive. If it is Abala Wanga who is wrong, Honorable Speaker, let him carry his own cross, Honorable Speaker. We know our governor is a man of integrity. Our deputy governor, Dr. Matthew Owili, a man of integrity, Honorable Speaker. Their names will not be smeared with mud, and as we sit down and watch, Honorable Speaker, let Abala Wanga carry his cross, Honorable Speaker. There are people, there are businesses which have been destroyed, Honorable Speaker. But 2 years down the line, nothing has been constructed, Honorable Speaker. We need to plan and plan well. Even if we do our destruction, let us do orderly and put something there, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I condemn and let a law takes its action, Honorable Speaker. Otherwise, thank you.
Honorable, the leader of majority is on his feet, so I'll give the leader of majority.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to submit that I want to condemn in the strongest term possible on the act that happened last night at Nyamlori. Mr. Speaker, if I think a government is supposed to provide an enabling environment for its people to do business, and this continuous destruction of property in this city is not good. But Mr. Balawanga also has a right to be heard. And I would like the Speaker that we reprimand Balawanga to appear before this House so that we can interrogate and then we get a lasting solution for this problem, because this problem has been there for long. And Mr. Speaker, I'm just wondering if someone can disregard a court order, then I hope that he's not going to do the same to this assembly. Mr. Speaker, I think our people need an enabling environment to do business. We are facing very harsh economic time. I know my submission is somehow, some people are surprised. But as a government, we must provide a conducive environment for our people to do business. And if someone, only an individual, wants to spoil the name of this government, then we will not accept. Mr. Speaker, I support the sentiments of my colleagues. Thank you.
Honorable members, let me give one member. Let me just give one member, then I give direction. Honorable Chele. Honorable Chele. Let me give one member, then I give direction. I know all members will want to say something. Honorable Chele, 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, may I first start by empathizing with our business community, more specifically from Nyamlori. The matter just before you, Mr. Speaker, and the act which has been tabled before you, Mr. Speaker, is kind of barbaric, old-cultured, and inhuman, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I may not dwell much on an individual who is not before this House, Mr. Speaker, but if using any other parameter that it appears that is involved in this kind of act, Mr. Speaker, then it is very sad because it's dragging the county backwards and is destroying and dragging the name of the good city in the mud. Mr. Speaker, I want to appreciate the business community in this county for the work they are doing. Mr. Speaker, you know, right now we are struggling to come up with a working budget. We cannot achieve a working budget if we don't have a hard-working residents of this county who are ready to pay their dues to the county government, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, currently, the money we collect from our own source is below par. And maybe it is below par because of such acts. If you can realize that this business community hold a good percentage of this economy, then, Mr. Speaker, we can be having a good and a structured way of giving guidance on how they conduct their businesses. And, Mr. Speaker, if there's any issue that need to be handled, then I think all the stakeholders, not just the business, not just the executive, but all the stakeholders of this country should be involved so that the enabling environment that the majority leader is talking about is achieved. Mr. Speaker, it can be very sad that we are running a county of lawlessness, a county which is run in a rudimentary way, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I've been hearing when I was outside there that things were being vandalized without notice, bad things used to happen. But if it is true that they are happening because of an individual, how sad that could be? How sad can that be that an individual can just decide all overnight, all over a time, to destroy property belonging to individuals who are ready even to pay their dues, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is my prayer that since the matter has been brought before you, and with the wisdom that God provides, you've decided that it be discussed. Mr. Speaker, allow Mr. Balawanga also to come, because in one way, we cannot be dancing a one-band guitar. Because maybe Balawanga has his reasons. He can even deny that he didn't take part. So, Mr. Speaker, if we give him chance to appear before a committee that will determine, and this business community also comes before the committee, therefore, Mr. Speaker, this House can be at a position to discuss the matter conclusively. However, as of now, Mr. Speaker, let's just have it as a petition, and we pray that the act does not proceed. Finally, Mr. Speaker, it is very disturbing if a senior civil servant in this county disobeys a court order. Recently, Mr. Speaker, going by the records of this House, a damaging report on the same Mr. Balawanga was discussed, approved by this House. I don't know when action will be taken on that report. And that report, together with what we are getting today, Mr. Speaker, then I want to believe that that individual is not worth being a civil servant in this county. Mr. Speaker, make a ruling that can save our county, make a ruling that can save our business community. Thank you so much.
Honorable members, I want to say that I apologize for the members who wanted to contribute, and time has run out. In fact, we are past the time by around 10 minutes. Honorable members, as I indicated earlier, the petition here mentioned the issue of court order, which means the matter is in court. And our standing order provides that it becomes very difficult to discuss matters at duties. But I want to agree with the sentiments of the members that we can restrict ourselves to matters not in court. And therefore, I want to say as follows. On the matter of contempt of court, which is witnessed by the annexure given by the Nyamlori petitioners, I want to implore the leadership of Nyamlori that through their advocate or their representative, they should be able to go back to court and communicate the same, the issue of contempt of court for court's action. And this one has been alluded very well by the leader of majority and even the Honorable Benny Peto Iko. Now, on the other prayers, I want to confirm here, honorable members, that I was not able to get the prayers to the court that led to the court order. But I addressed myself the happenings of the yesterday night at 0013 hours. In addition to the suggestions of the members, and in line with our standing orders, which provides that when a petition is brought to the Assembly, the Speaker directs in which committee it is put, and the timelines in which the action should be made. The matter at hand touches on issues justice. The matter at hand also touches on issues trade, at the same time planning. So I want to commit this petition to two committees, two joint committees. That is the Committee of Administrative Law, Justice, Legal Affairs, and Good Governance, and the Committee of Lands and Urban Planning. But you are going to work in extraordinary time, because I want to direct that on Tuesday, latest, you liaise with the clerk and a summons is sent to the city manager to appear before the joint committee, alongside the representatives of Nyamlori, so that you get both sides of the story. These ones will give us a short-term measure. And the short-term measure, it means we will request a progress report from the two joint chairs, that is the chair of Administrative Law, Justice, Legal Affairs, and Good Governance, and the chair of Urban Planning, Lands and Urban Planning, on Wednesday, 2:30 p.m. For the long-term solution, the committee shall go ahead and invite the County Executive Committee member in charge of public service and administration in matters surrounding the constitutionality or the employment regularities in line with the city manager having acted for that period. Number two, you will call the County Executive Committee member in charge of trade, marketing, and industry in line with the issues of the markets, Uhuru Business Park being one of them, Nyamlori Market, plus any other that would be of interest alongside the petition. Number three, the County Executive Committee member in charge of lands and urban planning, because I am aware that the city lies within the directorate, the Department of Lands and Urban Planning. Number four is the city manager himself must also appear for the long-term solution to this case. However, the reports will not come in terms of petitions. For us to be safe on our standing order and the provisions of the law, you shall bring it in terms of motion. The motion must have clear recommendations for the House to make a resolution on the way forward. So the Honorable Chair of Administrative Law and the Honorable Chair of Lands and Urban Planning, that must be Honorable Moses Ochele and Honorable Boyton Ratib. The report you're going to give is not a petition report. It will come in terms of motion, so that the House Business Committee will schedule for debate, so that it has some strength in terms of what the members of Assembly will resolve. But remember, I've said on Wednesday, 2:30 p.m., for the short-term solutions, we must get the report after meeting the two factions, the city manager and the representative of Nyamlori traders, on Tuesday. I also want to direct that by that provision, the two committees are authorized to sit commencing today as per the plan that they will present to me for approval. So I direct. Next order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. We are on number 5 papers.
Next order. Next order,
Order
clerk.
number 6, notice of motion.
Next order.
Order number 7, statements.
Statement time. Next order.
Mr. Speaker, sir, order number 8, motion, adoption of the report by Budget and Appropriation Committee on consideration of the proposed Kisumu County Integrated Development Plan for the fiscal year 2023 to 2027. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Chair, Budget and Appropriation Committee, the Honorable Joachim Okech. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with me here is the report on Select Committee on County Budget and Appropriation on consideration of the proposed Kisumu County Integrated Development Plan for the financial year 2023 all the way to 2027, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, pursuant to Article 220, Part 2 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, Section 104 and 108 of the County Government Act 2012, Section 126 of the PFM Act 2012, and Section number 18, Standing Order number 189 and 193 of Kisumu County Assembly, the CCM Finance and Economic Planning accordingly submitted the Kisumu, KCIDP financial year 2023-2027 and KCIDP financial year 2023-2024. That is the ADP and CIDP, just in short, which was held in the House on Wednesday, 3rd May 2023, and committed to the County Budget and Appropriation Committee and sectoral committees for processing. The third generation of County Integrated Development Plan of Kisumu is the roadmap for the development that outlines the projects and programs intended for implementation by the county government within 5-year period, starting 2023 up to 2027. It is the social agreement between the residents of Kisumu County and the county government of Kisumu. The plan is centered on the commitments made during the leadership campaigns to turn those promises into beneficial projects and programs. The theme of CIDP 3 is a peaceful and prosperous county where all inhabitants enjoy high quality life and sense of belonging, Mr. Speaker. The third CIDP, that is 2023-2027, seeks to place the county on a higher, broad-based, inclusive and sustainable growth and recovery path by building on their complement while taking into account lessons learned from implementation of CIDP 2. There are 6 chapters in the CIDP with highlights as follows. 1, Chapter 1 outlines the county's county's location, size, physiographic and natural characteristics, demographic profile, and administrative and political units. It also provides background data on the socioeconomic and infrastructure metrics that are relevant to the county's development. The second chapter includes an analysis and review of CIDP 2 in terms of revenue and expenditure for the financial year 2018-2019 to 2021-2022 financial years, as well as a review of the major findings from CIDP 2. It evaluates the degree to which County Integrated Development Plan 2 projects, programs, or initiatives implemented and address the development priorities of Kisumu residents. It covers an evaluation of county's natural resources, as well as the main difficulties and lessons learned throughout the development phases. The third chapter, Mr. Speaker, outlines the county's special development framework, which supports sectoral and economic planning and the implementation development projects and programs. The fourth chapter gives development plans, projects, and programs that have been selected by county stakeholders. It also outlines how the Governor Manifesto, Kenya Vision 2030 and its 4th medium-term plan, Africa Agenda 2063, East African Vision 2050, ICDP 25, Kenya commitments, the Sustainable Development Goals, and how the other sectoral plans connect and integrate County Integrated Development Plan 3. Chapter 5 describes the method and mechanism for resource mobilization for the implementation of CIDP 3. It also includes the predictions on on-source, the equitable share of revenue, conditional grants from the national government or development partners, as well as the public-private partnerships arrangement. It also illustrates the connection with the other stakeholders, Mr. Speaker. Chapter 6 summarizes the county monitoring and evaluation system. The framework is a component of the public service outcome culture, which aims to deliver value and services to all citizens. Mr. Speaker, the committee mandate, the Budget and Appropriation Committee is bestowed with the mandate as enshrined in the County Assembly Standing Order number 189.3 as follows. Below, investigate, inquire, and report on all matters related to coordination, control, and monitoring of the county budget, discuss and review estimates and make recommendations to the County Assembly, examine and the county budget policy statement presented to the County Assembly, examine bills related to other county government budget, including appropriation bills, and 1, And lastly, evaluate tax estimate, economic and budgetary policies and programs with direct budget outlays. Mr. Speaker, there is the list of the composition of the committee and the secretariat. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, to exhaustively scrutinize, analyze, and interrogate the CIDP 2023-2027, the committee held a total of 6 meetings. This gave the committee ample time to plan for public participation, receive reports from sectoral committees, and discuss its findings with CCM, finance, and economic planning, and make good recommendations which are contained herein. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, I would like to take this opportunity to extend my deepest appreciation and heartfelt gratitude to the office of the Speaker and the clerk for providing all the logistical requirements for this assignment. Secondly, I appreciate all committee members for the dedication, expertise, and tireless commitment which has been instrumental in shaping a comprehensive and well-informed report. I would like to express my gratitude to the County Treasury under the leadership of CCM, Finance, and Economic Planning for their meticulous attention to the committee and willingness to freely shed lights and give insights on particular areas which needed clarity and hence shaping CIDP3 that is both realistic and responsive to the evolving needs of our community, Mr. Speaker. Similarly, I applaud various departments for taking their time and responding to our invites to attend sectoral committee meetings and give explanation and justification regarding their sectoral priorities, strategies, programs for the year under review, Mr. Speaker. Further, I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to the Secretariat for their exceptional teamwork, being able to plan and coordinate various programs throughout the exercise and helping in preparation and generation of this report. I appreciate the public for honoring the call by the County Assembly and creating time to physically participate in public participation forums, despite the harsh economic times, as well as submission of memoranda on areas that matter to them, Mr. Speaker. It is therefore my humble submission to present this report from the Select Committee on County Budget and Appropriation on its consideration of the proposed Kisumu County Integrated Development Plan for deliberation and adoption, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, whichever government style that is adopted by countries, whether direct democracy, representative democracy, socialism, communism, monarchy, oligarchy, or even in autocracy, the place of planning has been key to their success or downfall. The citizens have generally become cognizant of the fact that not all the priorities they desire may be fulfilled due to the scarcity of resources and that are available for usage. In order to cure this malady affecting countries all over the world and nationally, the provisions of the Kenyan law require that resources allocation commences with fiscal planning, which is the stage where considerations are made on the development priorities, projects, and programs intended to be implemented over a given period of time. This has given birth to the development and adoption of the public expenditure public expenditure management framework, which allows government to be fiscally responsible, spend on the right things, and make the most limited public resources. The Kenyan Constitution and the legislation require that all county spending to be tied to a planning framework that sets the priorities and key performance indicators and targets. The cycle can be simplified in a sequence of 4 parts, which include 1, planning, budgeting, execution and implementation, and monitoring, evaluation, which is auditing and review, transparency and accountability, and sustainable development. Mr. Speaker, guideline for preparation of county integrated development plan, the revised one, 2020. Section 108 requires county governments to prepare 5-year integrated development plans and annual county budgets to implement them. In Section 102 of the Act, county planning is expected to provide a platform for unifying planning, budgeting, financing programs, implementation, and performance review. A county planning unit shall be responsible for coordinated, integrated development planning. County plans will have the goal of promoting harmony with the national and other county plans, land use plans, urban planning, and environmental conservation. Further, Section 104, Part 1 of the Act states that a county government shall plan for the county, and no public funds shall be appropriated without a planning framework developed by the County Executive Committee and approved by the County Assembly. It also states that the county planning framework shall integrate economic, physical, social, environmental, and spatial planning. In addition to county integrated development plan, county governments are expected to have the following: 1, county sectoral plan, that is the 10-year plan; 2, county spatial plan, 10 years; then 3, cities and urban areas plan, 5 years. These county plans are provided in Section 107, Part 2, that shall be the basis for all the budgeting and planning in a county. Mr. Speaker, The Public Finance Management Act 2012 Part 4, Section 126 requires county governments to prepare development plans in line with Article 220, Part 2 of the Constitution. The plans shall include strategic priorities for the medium term that reflect the county government priorities and plans. According to the PFM Act, annual budget process starts with the preparation and submission of annual development plan to the County Assembly for approval. Section 36, Part 2 of the Urban Area and City Act 2011 states that an integrated urban or city development plan shall bind, guide, and inform all planning for development and decision-making and ensure comprehensive inclusion of all functions. The Act also requires urban areas to prepare a 5-year integrated plan and city development plans which are aligned to the development plan strategies of the county government, Mr. Speaker. And Part 2 of the Intergovernmental Relations Act 2012 establishes the summit responsible for monitoring of national and county development plans and recommending appropriate action. Section 20, that is Part F, established the County Council of Governors with a mandate to coordinate the receiving guidelines for preparation of county integrated development plans. That was revised in 2020. Mr. Speaker, the National Government Coordination Act of 2013 provides for establishment of various committees to coordinate national government activities. And that is pursuant to Section 13, Part 1 of the Act. National Government Service Delivery Coordination Committee were established in each county through the Executive Order Number 3 of 2014 to perform the following functions, among others: A, coordinating implementation of national government function at the county level; B, monitoring, evaluation, and reporting on programs, projects, initiatives of the national government at the county level; and then Part C, identifying through public participation the development priorities of national government at county level. Further, the Executive Order Number 1 of 2019 on the framework for coordination and implementation of national government development programs and projects establishes implementing and coordinating committees at the national, regional, and county level, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Kenya Vision 2030 aims at creating a globally competitive and prosperous nation with a high quality of life by 2030. It also aims to transform Kenya into a newly industrializing middle-income country, providing a high quality of life to all citizens in a clean and secure environment. The vision is being implemented through successive 5-year medium-term plans at the national level and the CIDPs at the county level, Mr. Speaker. The medium-term plans of Kenya Vision 2030 outline the policies, legal and institutional reforms, as well as programs, projects that the government plans to implement during the 5-year period. To align national and county plans, priorities identified from the counties are incorporated in medium-term plans and specific sectors. MTPP 4, that is medium-term plan for priorities, the implementation of economic recovery strategies to reposition the economy on a steady and sustainable growth trajectory, Mr. Speaker. The CIDP gives an overall framework for development in a county and aims at coordinating the efforts of both levels of government in coherent manner to improve the quality of life for all people. Figure 1, that is below, shows the linkages between the county integrated development plan with policies and other plans, include the Kenya Vision 2030, the SDGs, Africa Agenda 2063, and the medium-term plan, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, page 9, for those who have the document, gives you the linkages with the Kenya Vision 2030. You can see it there outlined. Mr. Speaker, also the table below shows most popular sub-county in Kisumu. The table below shows most popular sub-county is Kisumu East sub-county with a population of 220,997, followed by Kisumu Central, then Kisumu West, then Nyando, Muhoroni, Nyakach, and lastly, Seme, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Majority Leader was joking that recently they sent 3 tuk-tuks to Seme, and 2 came full, 1 came back empty. Mr. Speaker, on a lighter note, I think you can answer that. So, Mr. Speaker, the table below gives the population projections by sub-counties and sex, you can see. And Kisumu East, with the highest population. Mr. Speaker, the county income inflows by source over the planned period comprised of internal and local revenue, grants, commission for revenue allocation, that is equity per share, donors and other sources were considered during this review. The county government of Kisumu had projected to receive revenue amounting to 40.5 billion from the 3 main sources from the financial year 2018-2019 to 2021-2023, as shown in the table below. Mr. Speaker, the table shown, that is on page 11, gives the revenue projection that is in the current CIDP that we are just about to replace with the third generation. And it shows that the total projection was 40.5 billion. That is on a rounded off figure. And the above table represents the revenue projections for the period you're covering 2018-2019 to 2021-2022 as per the program-based budgets, and the actual revenue realized in the same period. The total revenue targeted for the period, the budget was 49 billion. However, the actual revenue realized in the same period amounted to only 34.6, translating to 79% performance against the overall budget target. The committee has comprehensively conducted a review of the revenue performance of the previous CIDP, that is CIDP 2, 2018 to 2022. The table below outlines the committee observation on the same. And you can see the projected revenue against the actual. That is also on page 11. It goes all the way to page 12, Mr. Speaker. You can see the national government, the grants, you know, our sources of revenue start from the equitable share all the way to other sources. And Mr. Speaker, the committee analyzed the total budget allocation and the actual expenditure sector by sector over the CIDP2 period. It noted that the county overall absorption rate was at 66.6%, with the Department of Finance and Economic Planning and the County Assembly leading at 81.2%. and 80.9% absorption rate. Yani wale wakipewa pesa wanatumia. There are those who were given money and they don't spend it. So those leading in spending their money vis-a-vis what was budgeted for is the Department of Finance and Economic Planning, and then the Assembly hapo wanafuatana kabisa. The Lands, Physical Planning and Housing Department and Trade, Business and Cooperative Development, Energy and Industry recorded the lowest absorption rates at 26.3%, 36.1% respectively. And the table illustrates a breakdown of the absorption rates of the various sectors of the county government of Kisumu in CIDP 2. That is what was budgeted against what was actually spent. You can see in the last column, absorption rate, agriculture at 51.5, trade at 36.13, Kisumu City at 52, all the way down to County Assembly at 80.96. The average is 66.61. Honorable Speaker, the provision of Article 196, Part A and B, and 185, Part 4 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, Section 87 of the County Government Act 2012, and Section 207 of the PFM Act 2012 bestows at the public a huge say in determining how resources are mobilized and how the same are utilized. The County Assembly, through the County Budget and Appropriation Committee, undertook public hearings across all the 7 sub-counties of Kisumu County on Tuesday, 23rd May 2023. And additionally requested for submission of memoranda following an advertising placed in local dailies. See Annexed 2. In this hearing, the County Assembly, through the committee, was able to interact with the residents of Kisumu County who submitted their views, which the committee has summarized and considered in the report, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's barely a very, very long table, but you can look at it where we have column 1, concerns raised during public participation, and then column 2, committee observations, column 3, response by the CCM, and the last column is recommendation by the committee. So it goes all the way. If you look at the late submission of plans in contravention of Section 126 of the PFM Act, the CIDP came late, and the recommendation of the county treasury to comply with provisions of the law. So going down, we also had issues with the linkages of CFSP and the CIDP and ADP. These documents are supposed to communicate to each other, beginning from the CIDP going downwards. But sometimes we get a mismatch. We get a project at the ADP, which was not at the CIDP. We get an estimate. The CFSPs, that is the ceilings, are not communicating to each other. So the executive to initiate the process of formulating county spatial plan and sectoral plans to guide the future plans. All planning policies to be aligned and linked as required by respective laws and regulation. So, Mr. Speaker, it's a very long list, and that is why I request the members to go through it in advance. And it goes all the way to page 16. So you just look at the table and you'll see the various recommendations by the committee. We are at page 16, submissions by various sectoral committees. Mr. Speaker, sir, and honorable members, in compliance with the provision of Standing Orders number 189 and 193 of the Kisumu County Assembly, which provides that various sectoral committees shall study the programs and policies, objective of departments and their effectiveness of the implementation. In fulfillment of the above, the County Assembly invited all County Executive Committee members, accompanied by their technical staff, to appear before the respective sectoral committees. That is one, to discuss and review the sector performance of previous CIDP 2018 to 2022 and the major challenges encountered. Two is to discuss, review, and interrogate the respective department plans, priorities, and strategies in the CIDP 2027, taking into account aspiration of the people of Kisumu County. And then fourth is to examine the effectiveness of the implementation plan, the matrix of the proposed CIDP 2023-2027. And lastly, part four is to discuss, highlight, and recommend the revenue-raising strategies by the sectors for realization of the goals and objective of the plans. The table below highlights recommendations made by various sectoral committees on their review and analysis, consideration of line departments. Remember, there were submissions by various sectoral committees which were chaired by different chairs of the sectoral committees. And on this table, it illustrates, for example, the Committee of Tourism, Wildlife and Heritage and Cooperatives, and that of Finance, Trade and Enterprise. The department, the recommendation by sectoral committee was the Budget Committee to consider and incorporate the program on cooperative development and management and industrialization and investments which were omitted in the CIDP. You could find that there were submissions and proposals by the sectoral committees from different line ministries, but these were not included in the CIDP. And therefore, if you look at Annex 3 attached, the omitted programs were to be included in CIDP. Another good example is the Public Works, Roads and Transport, and whatever they proposed on CIDP and ADP be approved. That was the recommendation. So it's equally a little bit fairly long, let me use that language, planning, because I gave you this document to read it in advance. If you come to page 19, Mr. Speaker, we are also having a summary of departmental development priorities, strategies, and programs for CIDP 3, that is 2023-2027. And if you look at one, public service, county administration, participatory development, and office of the governor, the sector priority was to improve access to public service. Then there are different strategies on the following, on the next column, like, for example, development of office infrastructure at what level, so that improve access to public service, development and operationalization of service delivery, policies and guidelines, strengthening and enhancement of the staff recruitment capacity building and training function, development of performance management e-system, strengthening industrial relations, staff record and management and HR reporting tools, strengthen the legal and coordination units supporting PPP, that is public-private partnership, strengthen and build capacity of public participation structures, and strengthening of resource mobilization. And it goes the same as the sector priorities for that particular department. You look at strengthening disaster risk, then we have the strategies of how to achieve that. Improvement of legal representation and administration of top-notch legal instruments. Then we have again the strategies, just like independence of the county law office. To enhance access to information, we have how to achieve that, increase media outlets, communication, enhance media relations, enhance public communication, upgrade communication infrastructure, and develop communication policy. And the same goes to you could go to page 21, Mr. Speaker, finance and economic planning and ICT services. The sector priorities, one, to improve public finance management, and then we have the strategies, timely implementation of the budget, reduce spending bills, increase on-source revenue collection, strengthen internal records, strengthen procurement to improve policy planning and budgeting and monitoring and evaluation as a sector priority. Then the strategies how to achieve this is strengthen planning budget and budgeting, strengthen monitoring evaluation, strengthen county statistical system, Equally, it goes all the way to even the last one, which is to enhance and safeguard environmental and for utilization of ICT resources. Then the strategies is to procure standard ICT equipment and software license, acquire the necessary ICT certification, develop business continuity, and disaster recovery plans. The same on page 22, you look at medical services, public health and sanitation. The sector priorities were to strengthen general administration policy and support services. And then on the following column are the strategies of how to achieve that. They also had to improve access to quality, preventive and promotive health care. And then on the next column, we have strategies how to achieve, which is to strengthen non-communicable disease management, improve communicable disease management, including vaccination and immunizations. Again, if you look at the third one, to improve access to quality, curative, and rehabilitative health services, Mr. Speaker, and the following column is the strategies how to achieve. Mr. Speaker, it goes all the way as you look at it, land physical planning and housing development, the sector priorities, just like number one, to improve physical and land use and development planning. How do we achieve this? The strategies is strengthen physical and land use system, establish a multi-sectoral team for development and control and compliance. To improve urban governance and management, the strategy is to strengthen urban management system. To improve land management system is to streamline management and processing as a strategy, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the other one is Department of Education. I know it's not in my cover here, I'm not seeing something written, but one of the priorities is to improve access to quality ECD services in the county. And some of the strategies include recruitment of ECD teachers and quality assurance and standard officers. 2, construction of ECD infrastructure, provision of sustainable feeding program, provision of teaching and learning materials and play equipment, develop and operationalize county ECD policy and act in collaboration with other stakeholders and assess and learners with disability, including schools. Mr. Speaker, second one is to improve access to quality vocational education and training in the county as a sector priority. And then on the following column, we have the strategies just like recruitment of VTC trainers, quality assurance, and standard officers. Another sector priority is to promote access to innovation, incubation, and technology adoption. And one of the strategies is to keep the innovation hub, establish one innovation hub in each sub-county. The column goes all the way giving the strategies, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on agriculture, fisheries, livestock development, and irrigation, one of the sector priorities is to improve crop production. I'm just going through them very briefly. And some of the strategies is to promote irrigation and drainage, promote water harvesting and storage, farm input subsidy, and even promote market access as one of the areas to improve crop production, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, again, one of the sector priorities is to improve livestock production and productivity. And then we have a list of strategies, promote fodder and pasture development, promote appropriate water harvesting techniques for livestock use, promote breed improvement, promote pest and disease control and management, all the way down to capacity build youth and women in agribusiness, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, another sector priority is to improve fisheries production. And then again, the strategies are like promote capture and culture fish production, enhance extension services, promote diversification of fish farming methods and its products, promote market access, Mr. Speaker, all the way down to develop accurate fisheries resource database. On Kisumu County Assembly, Mr. Speaker, the sector priority is to strategize to improve on legislation, representation, and oversight, Mr. Speaker. And some of the strategies here are strengthen the capacity of members and technical staff to make laws and exercise oversight and representation, strengthen civic education and outreach activities, Mr. Speaker, all the way to improve assembly work environment. You know, without these ACs here, I don't think if the work environment will be sufficient, Mr. Speaker. The seventh one is water environment national resource, Mr. Speaker. The sector priorities are listed here. I may read a few of them. To improve access to safe water. The strategies, just like one of them, is to development of water infrastructure, strengthen water governance. Another sector priority to improve access to sanitation. Strategies, development of sanitation infrastructure, strengthen sanitation and governance, just as listed there. is still at the courts, and we were to improve greatly in our revenue were we to implement the valuation role as was presented. The executive to develop or formulate a framework to tap in private sector through public-private partnership platforms to bridge the deficit in the proposed CIDP 3 of 41 billion. That all the incomplete projects in the CIDP 2 to be costed and incorporated in the CIDP 3. That the county executive